Now, the cold rain, which could turn to sleet by the end of the game, that's something. And here's the other part about this is that Iowa feasts on turnovers and specifically running this heavy zone defensive scheme under Phil Parker that has been so good for so long, a decade and more. You look at this game and it's like one tipped pass, tipped, overthrow, boom, turnover, short field. Because how does Iowa score with basically no passing game? Well, you've got to create opportunities for your offense, and you do that through making plays on special teams or on defense, and that's exactly what they do. Now you mix in that weather factor, and the ball slips out here. Maybe there's a muff punt there. All of a sudden there's an overthrow, and boom, Iowa's got a short field. They're up. And now all of a sudden you're under some serious duress if you're Oregon. Oregon has a terribly tough slate down the stretch here in November. This one being one of them, obvious. This game, by the way, because of that weather, because of the style that Iowa plays, the over-under for this game is 41.5. That's the lowest of the weekend in college football. Dante Moore is going to have to play very clean, very clean. Get back to that Dante Moore that we saw early in the season when he was very efficient, the ball was out on time, and he was accurate with it. Because if he's not, there's going to be a chance for Iowa to get their hands on the football. Fortunately for Oregon, in particular in a game that could be this style, and in specifically with the weather, the Ducks can run it with a deep backfield. Jordan Davison, Noah Whittingham, they have 424 rush yards between them over the last 2 games, so they can lean into that. They are going against a top 10 run defense in Iowa, heavy zone, eyes in the backfield. That's what you're going to get, maintaining their layers of defense. Now, I alluded to this. How does Iowa score points? They have to create points with units that are not the offense. Short fields, turnovers, special teams plays. That's the MO, the blueprint for Iowa, and they generally do it really well. That offensive line has looked really good over the last couple of weeks. Gronowski is a huge run threat. Obviously at quarterback, and that's one thing that Oregon maybe is a weakness for them. These two teams both lost at home to Indiana. The Hawkeyes played them better than Oregon did. They were tied with under 2 minutes in that game in this stadium, Kinnick Stadium. So Iowa 6.5. What do we do with that after everything that I just said? Well, you know what? You take the points. I think Oregon wins the game. Oregon is going to find a way to win the game, which is sheer grit and determination with their head coach, Dan Lanning, and their quarterback, Dante Moore. They win it 17-13, but I'm taking the 6.5 with Iowa.
This weekend. Big game in Iowa City. Oregon plays Iowa. This is the Saturday CBS game of the week. 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 local time. There's no way to sugarcoat this. It's going to be gross. At last check, we are predicting rain again. We're predicting wind again. And temps in the mid-40s. Let me give Dan Lanning a little friendly piece of advice publicly. You got to stop wearing cotton in the pouring rain. That can't feel good. You risk hypothermia. And the game's already going to be hideous. You don't have to feel terrible along with it. So I trust Kenny and the guys up there in the equipment department to make sure we're better equipped this week to deal with the conditions. I know most of you did not watch Oregon versus Wisconsin, but I did. They also played that day in a downpour, sideways rain, gross game. This should be every bit that, except a little colder. Iowa's offense has turned a corner. I don't know if you've heard. Iowa's offense turned the corner, yeah. How's that? Well, they're 4-1 in Big Ten play. And they've scored 38, 37, 25, and 41 in those wins. That means their offense has turned a corner, right? No, it hasn't. They haven't thrown for 200 yards in a game this year. They do not have a wide receiver with over 75 yards in a game. This is so classic Iowa. They have, as a team, 1,061 receiving yards. San Jose State has a kid with more receiving yards than that. Danny Scudero. Good player. More receiving yards than Iowa. So, yeah, it's not like the offense has necessarily turned a corner. Iowa's just doing what they do. They're playing the ball they play, and it's working for them, and they're number 20 in the playoff rankings right now. So this is a big prove-it spot for Oregon. I know what I'm getting from Iowa. Iowa sits there and waits for you to hand the game to them, and then they're really good at taking it. They are not going to go get it. They're going to wait for you to hand it to them, and then they will take it. So, do you play their game or do you play your game? The weather would indicate it's going to be really hard to play basketball on grass here. However, Oregon can run the ball fairly well. Okay, so Oregon doesn't have to sit there and rely on the things that the video gamers out there think Oregon has to rely on. Iowa, already played Indiana just like Oregon did. Iowa dealt with Indiana better than Oregon. So we have a common opponent there. So it's going to be a very tough out for Oregon. Their last game was 21-7 in a downpour against Wisconsin. Iowa has beaten Wisconsin 37-0 already this year. So there are multiple common opponents here. Penn State as well. Close game against Penn State. So was Oregon. They went to overtime. So if you're trying to understand why this game's spread is only 6.5, buddy, if we looked at the common opponents, you could make the counter argument, why is Iowa not a slight favorite at home? This game, this spread, implies Iowa as about a 9.5 or a 10-point favorite neutral field. So it's a little hefty. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video.